Previously on Nguhcraft, back in 2022. In a series of live streams, the legendary heroes fought the Acolytes of Rabo and defeated their evil forces. Afterwards, the world changed fundamentally in a cataclysmic event known as the Caves and Cliffs Update. The successful heroes of the Kingdom of Cuba decided unanimously to leave the world behind and use the spoils of their victory to found a utopia in a new world. Upon entering this new world, the city of Nguhcraft was established as a part of the 5-village network in its outlying areas. A new currency, the petrified oak slab, was introduced. All was well in this era of single dominion, known as the Old Kingdom. Things grew stagnant over time, though, and many of the founders of the New World departed, but everything changed after the Raid, kickstarting a new era of flourishing cultures, languages, international relations, and yes, even conflicts. Hey everybody, welcome to Nguhcraft. Been doing a lot of Minecraft talk lately. Maybe I should become British and start a geopolitics channel. So, Nguhcraft as a server has existed for over 4 years now, but its current iteration took off and absolutely blossomed beginning in November 2023 after the Raid. This was an event where some people entered the server without Discord verification and used the various warps that existed in the Old Kingdom to loot and grief nearly every settlement that existed at the time. The server was pretty quiet at the time, so it actually took a few days for people to notice the true extent of the damage. The hackers were banned, and a new verification system was introduced to prevent something similar from happening in the future. But the damage was severe. The city of Nguhcraft was razed to the ground, the rail network broken in several areas. My personal property outside of the city, Phoenix, was destroyed as well. While the impact of the raid was severe, it actually led to a huge reinvigoration of interest on the server. Even before the kingdom was declared old and thus defunct, several new societies emerged almost immediately after the raid. These were entirely new countries with new cities located in closer proximity to the world spawn at the geographic center of the map. I was the last person to remain in Nguhcraft, which was far north of the world spawn. I figured that as the namesake of the city, I had an obligation to do my best to rebuild and operate from that location. But by January, I came to terms with the fact that the cultural center of gravity of the world had shifted to that spawn region. The Kingdom of Kaen, Imerchal, Mijariki, Thunen, Kumrea were among the first to take major swaths of territory, marked on an official map of the world that would come to be regularly updated. So I took what limited belongings I still had and sailed from the ruins of Phoenix way far south to an unclaimed, unaltered desert village south of the spawn. Following the naming convention of Phoenix, I declared the village to be the new city of ŋimp, officially with a labiodental ma, where the M goes, but I quickly got tired of copy and pasting that symbol into Minecraft, so ŋimp. After ŋimp's founding, I put together plans for future settlements, declared Arodjun the official language of the region, and named my brand new country Harlesia. Or in a more Englishy phonology, Harlesia, I guess, which roughly means Great Desert Area in Arodjun. I'll talk more about my country later, as it's just a small piece of the mosaic that came to quickly make up this new era of Nguhcraft. Activity on the server absolutely ballooned in the first couple months of 2024. A wiki was made, first on a site called Mirahaze, and then another briefly on Fandom, before both were discontinued upon the creation of mc.nguh.org, the official Nguhcraft wiki, which I'll link in the description. Verified players can now have an editor account created manually by Eternal, preventing unauthorized spamming. Being that we're all the same brand of meticulous nerds, the ease of use of that wiki format caused activity on the server to absolutely skyrocket from there. The number of countries greatly increased, the United Nations was founded, and the overall complexity of every society increased exponentially. Marcy Sheikha of Kaen founded founded Senrail, a high-speed international rail system. Eternal altered the code of the server to multiply the speed of minecart railways by a factor of at least 10, making it the most rapid form of transport that existed in the world. With that, most of the warps that existed during the Old Kingdom period were deleted in favor of this authentic rail travel through the nations. I first learned of Senrail as a line was already being built on a path that passed through Yuma, so I created Yuma Station, the first moderately impressive structure in all of Harlesia. In my humble opinion, I'm not great, but it's come to be known as the Harlesia architecture style, so I'll go with it. Some major historical events occurred along the way to today's status quo, only a few of which truly impacted the politics of the whole world. One of which was the scramble for Merbetia. After the nation of Merbetia was dissolved, several nations purchased or even fought for parts of that territory. This single-handedly pushed the cultural and political center of gravity of the world further south. Another was the Coup Sabah, a period where, in my country, the rightful Bezuv, or monarch, Agma I, wonder where that name came from, was besieged and usurped by the Dmachuv, the sea commander of the Harlesia Port Authority. Gu Sabah, his son. Multiple countries became entangled in this conflict, either supporting Agama Shuya or Gu Sabah, culminating in a huge battle with a death laser and a whole bunch of explosions. Agama Shuya was restored, but Gu Sabah still holds some territory in the ocean to this day, mostly on islands in the Agmatic Ocean. The political alignments from this conflict are still seen in some alliances and conflicts that are happening as we speak. That information could actually be outdated by the time this video comes out. Things are moving quickly on the Gu Sabah front. And we can't forget the Nguhcraft Song Contest, held in the now-defunct nation of Amoy, where the 11 participating countries wrote songs and performed the songs in a big celebration that took place in a hybrid Minecraft and Discord voice chat situation. With Marcy of Kaen coming out on top, the next Nguhcraft will be hosted in Kaen city of Parco. Many countries built sports complexes in preparation for an upcoming Olympics and other future events as well, so we'll see how that goes. And all of this is barely scratching the surface. Today there are over 50 nations in the world of Nguhcraft, with varying levels of frequent activity and participation in global politics and trade. I asked leaders of nations to provide me summaries of their governments, languages, and cultures. I'm now going to go through one at a time reading the summaries they provided verbatim according to what they submitted. Just know that there is most likely much more information to learn about every country on the server on the Nguhcraft wiki. Real quick though, if you're not subscribed yet, please do. The path to 20,000 Nguhscribers is visible. I can almost taste it. Every time someone clicks subscribe, a cartoon scent trail leading to an apple pie and a windowsill appears, and I start to float involuntarily. It's great. And to help my algorithm performance, please like the video and leave a comment. If you don't have anything important to say, just comment, "They do be crafting though," and I'll know you support the cause. Anyway, let's discuss some of the prime Nguhcraft real estate, in the words of their national leaders. Now keep in mind, the pronunciations are gonna suck here, just a fair warning, and I've got a lot of text to read through, so do not expect perfection here. I'm gonna go through the 20 or so countries who gave me summaries to explain. Some of you gave IPA transcriptions of some of the names, some of you didn't, and either way, those pronunciations are probably gonna be pretty rough in the name of getting through this. Sorry, vocal cords. Let's do it. Stavan. Stavan is an island nation in the southwest of the map that was founded by Viklo shortly after the island became accessible due to the Nguhcraft Spring. Viklo had previously lived in Birchil, which is now in Mingayachar. The name means birchland in Staveni and comes from the fact that most buildings there are made of birch. The first thing that was built in Stavan was the Birch Tower of Stawais, constructed on the highest point of the island, which became the start of the capital of Stawais, which means Ice Town in Staveni. Another notable feature of Stawais is the stone wall that encompasses most of it. Since Stavan was one of the earliest nations in the southwest, it was for a long time not connected to Senrail. That changed when the archipelago line was built between Stawais and Fairan, which was at the time part of Merbetia and is now part of Coldba Cuba. The line was for the most part constructed by Viklo in May and early June of 2024 before the dissolution of Merbedia, but it was not truly finished until September, when the station at the Fairan end was built by Finn after the dissolution of Merbedia. Stawace has actually, since its creation, been connected to Birchill via the Venrail N1 on the nether roof, but Birchill is not connected to anything on the overworld side, and the Venrail N1 predates Leshrail roof by several months, so it was not connected to anything on the nether roof either until after the construction of the archipelago line. Stavan also has two territories that are not located next to the main island. Agma Ball's territory and St. Pierre and Miquelon, also known as Spam. The Gagma Balls territory is located in the desert to the east of Spawn and essentially just consists of the areas surrounding the Gagma Balls sign. The sign was constructed by Viklo before the founding of Stavan and was originally in no man's land, but after some time the Gagma Balls territory was established so that the sign would no longer be in Terra Nullius. St. Pierre and Miquelon is a very small island off the west coast of the Land of Chaos. The island has a tower on it, which takes up almost all of the island. The official languages of Stavan are Swedish and Staveni. Staveni is a conlang that was originally started as an Englang a couple months before the founding of Stavan, but it was repurposed for Nguhcraft purposes to save the project from abandonment. The main idea of Staveni is that every sequence of consonants that a word can start with is a grammatical gender, and adjectives have to agree with the nouns they modify by having those consonants added to the adjective. Verbs have similar agreement with the subject, but the consonants are added as an infix before the final vowel. Can't tell that this is my first time actually reading through a lot of this. I mostly just copy-pasted them. This is gonna be good. Thraka. Vilnark is the founder and current governor of the country of Trakva, right? Trakva. Rough English pronunciation, Trakva. Okay, sure, Trakva, alright. A country located at the northeasternmost point in the continent of the Land of Chaos. It has existed since May 27th, 2024. It joined the United Nations on June 11th, 2024. Its capital is, god damn it, its capital is Jagruchach, right? Jagruchach. The official languages of the country are Mauritian and Vremishan. Both languages are from another dimension and are thus completely unrelated to every other language found in the world. Mauritian used to be the sole official language until Remission was granted co-official status in March of 2025. On the world stage, Trakva is a founding member of the Gibraltar Army Treaty Organization, or NATO. It remains firm allies with countries like Enkavak, Kaen, and Humland, the three other NATO founders. Outside of NATO, the country is taking part in the Chaos by Land Initiative, a spin-off of the Thasusa by Land Initiative, from the continent up north that aims to connect the countries of the continent with a road network. Most likely still an ongoing process when this video is released. You are correct, Vilnark. It is still definitely an ongoing process. The country has also participated in international events such as the 2024 Eurovision and has expressed interest in participating in the event for the foreseeable future. It will also participate in the Olympics whenever those happen. The Kingdom of Kaen. The Kingdom of Kaen, or KKC, is a country located on the eastern part of the Great Sea, bordering Henso, Sofaltashi, Imrashal, and Mijariki. Also Coldba and Harlesia if you count the overseas territories. It's the oldest country in Nguhcraft, at least according to its definition, and is ruled by Queen Marcy. The national flag of the Kingdom of Kaen consists of a white sun on a blue field, partially covered by a magenta and white stripe at the bottom. The blue represents the sky. The magenta originally represented the colorful skyline of Kaen City, now called Parco, and the white represents the foundation of the sand that the city was built on. The white sun in the center of the flag is a national symbol of the kingdom. The city, today known as Parco, was founded in November 2023 under the name Kaen. The name Kaen comes from the Kaeseni word, Kaen, meaning sand island. This is because the island the city was built on consists mainly of sand. About a month later, the Kingdom of Kaen was founded, with it at its capital. Since then, it has expanded its territory. Its most recent expansion being the acquisition of Kaeseni Pua in August of 2024. Today, the Kingdom of Kaen consists of three main main parts, called the Constituent Republics: the Republic of Marsiland, the Republic of Kaen, and the Republic of Shingtsun, as well as 4 additional territories: the Shohan Islands, a bunch of small islands west of Marsiland; Gibraltar, a very small city surrounded by Harlesia, shaped like IRL Gibraltar; Pua, a kingdom inside a kingdom, ruled by King Matthias I of Pua, mostly built out of sandstone; and Monkey Island, an island off the east coast of Shingtsun, ruled by Monoridia. The flags of the 3 constituent republics follow the same pattern as the federal flag. The kingdom shares 3 condominia with other countries. The western part of the Shohan Islands is shared with Oberia, a region in Slabland known as Vansterel is shared with Imershal, and Gibraltar is shared with Harlesia. The kingdom has 3 major cities, each having a unique architecture style. Port Marcy is not as big, but nonetheless a culturally significant city. Founded in October 2023, it is the oldest settlement in the kingdom and the capital of Marcyland. Notable sites include the ruins of Queen Marcy's first house, destroyed during the raid, the harbor, and multiple farms. It is also an important transport hub due to having one of the oldest train stations in the world that connects the central line to the southern. Parco, formerly Kaen, is a city located in the Republic of Kaen. It is currently the capital city of the kingdom. The National Assembly is located here. As mentioned before, the city was originally called Kaen or Kaen City and has been completely greenified and rebuilt from April 2024 onwards. After the Kingdom of Kaen's win in the Eurovision Song Contest of 2024, Parco was chosen to host this year's contest in late 2025. Yija, located in the Republic of Shingtsun, was founded in February 2024. Originally a small settlement close to an iron farm, it is now the biggest and most influential city in the kingdom. The headquarters of the United Nations, Senrail, and the Yijin Broadcasting Company are located here. The building that functions as the headquarters of the United Nations was built by Pleb, leader of Kazdanen, in March of 2024. Yija is also the host city to all diplomatic embassies. This is why Yija likes to call itself the capital city of the world. Speaking of diplomacy, the Kingdom of Kaen is one of the founding members of the United Nations and NATO, as well as being a member state of the Gulf Union. Most Kaensanians would probably consider their neighbor Imershal to be their most important diplomatic partner due to its proximity and both being about equally old. The Kingdom of Kaen is a federal parliamentary constitutional monarchy, with its head of state being Queen Marcy from the House of Sheikah, and its head of government being Prime Minister Marcy Sheikah, who are totally not the same person. The kingdom is as loose as a federation can get, with different levels of federalism depending on the type of subdivision. Its national language is Kaesani, with Puan and Shohan being recognized regional languages. Marcy also has a whole video dedicated providing more information about Kaen, and I'll link it as a card or something. The Evil Scamming Country. Evil Scamming Country is the best country ever founded. Nothing more needs to be said because of how great and universally known Evil Scamming Country is. Quote Kronos, the leader of Evil Scamming Country. Harlesia. The Bezavate of Harlesia, Bezun Harlesiawa, is a nation located in the continent of Thasusa, south of Thunenkumrea, north of Pua, west of Naronpar, and along the Agmatic Ocean. As I mentioned, I established Harlesia in January of 2024 after abandoning the last remains of the Old Kingdom. Its capital, and by far its largest city, is Yuma. There are over 20 towns and cities with permanent villager populations throughout its territory, and it's one of the few nations to give villagers full human rights. As such, populated areas are patrolled and protected by iron golems who work for the Harlesia Terrestrial Army, or XTA. Ports and naval bases have been controlled by the Harlesia Royal Navy since the expulsion of the corrupt Harlesia Port Authority in November of 2024. Both the Terrestrial Army and the Royal Navy are subsidiaries of the legislative body of the nation, the Harlesia Legislative Authority, or XLA. This unicameral legislature consists of 16 seats that are distributed across the 11 Feunawa, or counties, of Harlesia by population. The veto power, along with the direct management of all construction projects, belongs to the Bezuv, or head terraformer, currently Agma Shuya I. The title is meant to be hereditary, but after his son Gu Saba's October betrayal, known as the Ku Saba, there is currently no heir in line for the throne. After being a relative backwater for a long time on the world stage, after the scramble of Merbedia and construction of Senrail stations in Yuma, Flagstaff, Gibraltar, Ash Fork, and Sedona, Harlesia has, at the very least, become a significant country for transit and international travel. Its main products are desert supplies, such as terracotta, cactus-based products, and sand-based products. It also is occasionally a hub for banking, as the Beziv works directly with the slab exchange and makes transactions in both petrified oak slab and the Puan Unity Argent. Culturally, there are three major regions. Core Harlesia consists of the Yuma metropolitan area, meaning the cities of Yuma, Tempe, Oracle, Blythe, and Quartzsite. Here, most of the buildings are made with sandstone, and windows are made with solid glass blocks rather than panes for improved insulation, The Acacia land extends far beyond Harlesia, but this eastern and southern regions of Harlesia show obvious cultural influences from this wider region. Out here, jack-o'-lanterns are common cultural signifiers, and melon farms are the primary source of food. Oceanic Harlesia consists of the various islands in the west of Harlesia. These tend to be the most separative and navally oriented. Much of La Paz County and Coconino County are still in open rebellion since October 2024. Some buildings follow sandstone conventions, but others are made of wood, deep slate, and stone brick. There are also 3 legal condominiums in Harlesia. Gibraltar has shared authority with the Kingdom of Kaen. Crown King has shared authority with Thun and Cumrea, and a new condominium called Surprise has been created with the Realm of Madness. The flag of Harlesia is a field of green, bisected by a thin black line and ringed by a golden border. These represent grass, roads, and sand, respectively. The official languages of Harlesia are English and Arodjun, and every major place name is named after a location in Arizona. Well, except for Blythe, that's like on the California side of the Colorado River, but I didn't realize how big Harlesia was going to get, so. Anyway, most official signage is written both in English and Arodjun, and Arizona place names have Arodjunized variants as well. Harlesia is at the head of the fledgling Thasusa by Land initiative, which is a mission to make the entire continent of Thasusa safely navigable by foot or by horse. Several nations have signed up for the program, but much work remains to be done. One last thing to mention is the Yuma grid system. Every street in Yuma has a name, and every building has an address based on the position of the road and the location in relation to the city's central square. An extension of the grid to accommodate new sections of the city, as well as the city of Tempe, is currently underway. R.I.P. Mr. Gritty. Your work shall not be forgotten. Oh God. Gdash Nislo. Maz's nation. Created by one of the Discord mods, Maz consists of less than 1/8 of a train station. That's it. Enkavak. The name comes from the Lavakessa word for Atlantis, Enkavak, I assume, and it literally means at water, from Enkavak. Other languages use the exonym Atlantis. For example, in German, it's Republica Atlantica, but in Latin, it is Res Publica Enravai. The flag is white and blue stripes with a golden trident, which is the most important symbol of Enkavak, next to the squid. The banner is just the blue background with a trident, although Minecraft doesn't have a good way of making a trident on a banner. The language, Lavakessa, is from a very old language family with roots in the Livanar language, which is spoken in the actual Atlantis from the myths. Lavakessa is also related to Latin and ancient Greek because they are very culturally close. Outside of the universe, Lavakessa is my second language I have ever made and was originally planned to be a joke language that resembles duck speech. That's why it has such a small phonology of the nouns and an ak in nominative and quote shesas. And Levanak in Lavanak actually comes from Levak, meaning duck. This language has a lot of dialects and different forms and related languages, which haven't been created yet, since the language family is spoken in the Atlantic Ocean. That is, in Nguhcraft, which is rather the Mediterranean as the real-life equivalent, and is spread around a lot of islands. The things that are known about the history of Atlantis are that there was at some point a catastrophe which ended the Atlantic Kingdom. At the end, and the people ended up under Greek rule, or whatever was the current Greek-ish main authority at that point in time. After that, around 750 AD, someone called Namnaksa, or later Namna Primus Pugnator in Latin, fought the Greeks and won the Greek Atlantic War and began his rule of the First Atlantic Empire. The religion of Enkavak is very complicated. Since the Old Atlantic Kingdom and the beginning of the Atlantic Empire, they worshipped the Atlantic equivalents of Indo-European deities, where most of which ruled over something water-related. The problem was that they had to perform the rituals of every single deity related to what they want to do to perfection. This seemed to be an increasing trend, starting off very lightly and becoming more of a problem after some time. This meant that they had to have up to 80% of crew members on a ship be religious people performing rituals and prayers to dozens of different gods, and shipments had to be planned months prior to perform all the preceding rituals that needed to be done before the shipment starts. This ruined the economy, and a lot of philosophers came up with ideas to work around or create a new religion. A lot of them had really stupid ideas, and ancient equivalents of flat earthers started to appear. In the end, they just coined a new pronoun meaning literally some godly dude. Vuangak, from angak, pronoun for someone, and vu, meaning something godly. They abolished everything of the old religion and started to call anything vuangak, which could be related to religion in the slightest. In modern days, we forgot what a proper religion works like, and vuangak is the Lavanak word for eternal, Rabo, Abo, Agma, Schwa, God, and every single deity in existence, with the implied meaning that all of them are the same person. Also, Vuangak is very informal. The Lavanak calendar still has most of the months named after the old deities, although the fewest people still worship them. It works very weirdly, since it has different cycles, which add up to 46,080 Gregorian years for one entire cycle. Combined with the Lavanak number system, which is base 6, 12, and 24 at the same time, it is nearly impossible for a non-native to keep track of Lavanak time. If you want to know more about the Lavanak number system, and you don't, you can look at the wiki or ask Shesas for some Nguhcraft Lavanak for ungodly reason. The first of the current fourth cycle is exactly on the day when Namnak I founded the Atlantic Empire, and we have no idea why. Maybe they just tried to make him look cool and changed a few things, for the entire calendar system was butchered in the Middle Lavanak times when they mistranslated some calendar-related terms like the sun year, 288 days, as solar year, 365 days, or the moon year, literally water year, which is 144 days, as the lunar year, which is 30 days. It doesn't make things better that the third month/year is called Gasang, literally first, or that the 31st year is called Gasveval, which is literally 8th. Modern Enkavak was founded on the 30th of August 2022, at first out of universe as a joke micronation, which then got turned into this con-worlding project by Shesas when he joined Nguhcraft. Enkavak was introduced to the Minecraft world in February of 2024. The founding is still celebrated on the 11th of every Lavanak month/year, after on the 1st to 3rd the national elections were held. The results were revealed and conducted on the 4th. And the deity of the month/year was celebrated on the 6th and 7th, although most people don't care because of Vuangayism. Enkavak is one of the few countries in Nguhcraft that actually holds elections and considers itself the only actually democratic nation. The elections on the 9th of August 2024 and 24th of May 2025 determined the Senate and the magistrates. The current magistrates are Namnak Shesas Gaoming Ngayamanyani Mavaisikino and Taugnis Geminis Strategus Inglitus. Enkavak has a constitution with a length of about 280 lines, which is updated on the 30th of October 2024 for the last time. Additionally to that, Enkavak has 5 law books, 3 ministries, the National Bank, which controls all the money and the resources of Enkavak and administers the national currency, the Glonga, which is about 0.5 diamonds in Minecraft and about 2 euros IRL, and the military, which is called Herderfreien Inseln, okay? Army of the Free Isles. Enkavak is a founding member of both the United Nations and NATO. Fun fact, Enkavak is the only nation that was present in every single meeting of the UN. Enkavak is one of the first nations to have a university and actually offer classes. Currently, it offers German and applied music, but more classes are planned. Enkavak has a big economy with one of the biggest villager trading halls in the center of its capital, Ŋimp. The two biggest export goods of Enkavak are armory, weaponry, and wine and beverages. The company, called Armor Shop, Atlantic Armor Shop, or Kvaktavleak Nabovig Avesiheg, and Vtavleak for short, in Lavakessa, is one of the biggest companies in the world, having most, if not all, possible weaponry and armory items in stock, and even owning a website. Multiple foreign companies of the Amoyology, Mijariki, Kaen, and Aresia are present in Ŋimp. It has good trading connections to the kingdom of Kaen, with a road planned going from Yija, the capital of Kaen, to Ŋimp. There are 3 different places of worship within Enkavak. There is the Rabo Shrine from the times of the Old Kingdom, and the Vuanak Eternal Shrine in Ekativak, and a polytheistic Vuangaistic shrine north of the capital. The territory of Enkavak extends over the 4 different continents: Slabland, Thesusa, Balloon World, and Greenland. Enkavak got 2nd place in the Eurovision Song Contest due to a tiebreaker with the 1st place of Kaen. Enkavak actually has rights for other beings like villages or dogs, calling them people and possibly granting them citizenship or something similar. Enkavak is estimated to be the richest nation on Earth and has multiple illegal items, including various end items. What exactly, how many, and if this estimation is right is all up for speculation, since the government doesn't actually answer any questions about it or publicly states what items and how many of what it owns. Enkavak is planning to launch its own website, automating most application and contract processes. And finally, Enkavak does have its own dedicated website now, enkavak.shesas.com, and has recently joined the Gulf Union. I'm just going to pronounce this one Missouri. The Directorate of Missouri is a nation located in the southern land of chaos. It was a condominium between the CMC Federation, Latium Regnatum and Vilantnen, and Tanchilebs. It was originally claimed by Edward of the former CMC to build on it before the Federation collapsed, in which the territory was transferred to Vilantnen. Princeps Idanicus, Kaiser of Latium, however, did not want the land, so Vilantnen asked the Tanchilebs if they wanted the land, which they agreed. On the 31st of March 2025, a rebel by the name of Johannes Bavmazin overthrew the director's government to establish a new country. Vilantnen and Tanchilebs still recognize Missouri as a condominium, while supporters of Arodjun recognize Missouri as an independent state. Its capital is Missouri City, and its official languages are Tanchilubi, English, and Viosa. Siren Guard. The Autonomous Republic of Siren Guard, 300 blocks or so from the shore of Imershal, is an empty little island, with the only sign of civilization being torches and a mine. But don't let that fool you. Siren Guard is actually an underground state, with a trading hall, a mob spawner, and a statue of the local deity Rose Colrest, the siren believed to have had guided the founder northward onto the island. Even though Siren Guard is an autonomous region of Imershal, it is as wonderful as its overseer. Coldba Cuba. The Empire of Coldba Cuba was founded by Kate the Pan Plate as the successor to the Season 1 nation Cuba, which was the center of activity in its time. It is ruled by Kate as the empress and has 3 major cities: Chilvana, Frostanamo Bay, and Old Cuba. The latter is a copied portion of the Season 1 Cuba inside of the empire's borders. These cities and other parts of Coldba are connected by rails thanks to Finn, who has contributed significantly to the country's infrastructure. Coldba was expanded greatly upon the dissolution of its neighbor Merbedia, Harlesia and is now the second largest nation in the world. It has developed former Merbedian regions such as Anwe and Phaidon. Both have train stations built by Finn. He also built the town of Mount Navia, based on the real-world town of Vail, Colorado, near the geopolitical region of Scarecrow Harbor. Coldba also has a colony, Grindlesnurt Island, which is a mysterious mushroom island, and also the northernmost land claim in the world. There's also Bad to the Land, a Badlands territory in Tardigradia that was transferred from the Realm of Madness. Sylvania is the cultural center and capital city of Coldba, and has many buildings such as an item storage facility, post office, a bakery, and several others. It is the most populous city by player population, with 6 players actively living there. It also holds the Holy Temple of Chilvana, a grand religious building accommodating many faiths. The city has a street grid built for the use of Riptide Tridents. It also has its own metro system and is connected to the Cuban, Crystal, and Olympic lines. The Cuban and Olympic lines also serve the rest of Coldba. Old Cuba has the largest food farm and villager hub in the world, and several historic buildings, including the original capital and Agma Schwa's bungalow. My old Cuban bungalow, if you remember the live streams. Coldba also has 2 national parks, Coldba Cuba on the border with Kyasenipua, and Everglacier in Florida County. Finn is currently building the Arctic Circle Stadium for the upcoming Olympics. Coldba is also unofficially the center of the Allied Allies of the Alliance, since the respective leaders of each member state, Coldba, Oberia, the Port of Eras, and the Realm of Madness, are citizens of Coldba. The Realm of Madness and its subsidiaries. First, Giannis's house was the first base built on the new server, which started out as Giannis's chest for the old server. Giannis had planned to create a new Mongolia in what later became known as Mingayachar. Oh god, that's the IPA. Mingayachar. That's not right, but yeah. Their chests were robbed by some mysterious person no one ever found the identity of, marking the first theft in the new server. They left the server after getting bored of playing since there wasn't much to do anymore. After leaving, Thun and Kumrea found it and all of Giannis' items and declared they had found the lost city of gold before taking all the items, many of which were from the end, and building Nayathal. During the expansion of Senrail, the house was made into a Senrail stop, which was later moved to a dedicated station beside it. Juya Guanya was/is SW's base in the new server. Okay, all of this is in the first person, so this is not actually me talking. I decided to make my home on Mushroom Island that I found in the middle of the Great Sea. I learned that it had been an ocean monument and asked Giannis for help draining it. It took a long time, but we finished it and planned to build an enormous villager trading hall called Le Chateau Bege. Under the ocean, I began the construction on an underwater home where I would move and dedicate the island's surface to farms. I stopped playing around the same time Giannis did, but when the raid happened, Juyaguana was unharmed, either due to the fact that it was protected back then, or because it was in the middle of the ocean with no easy way to get there. When I returned in August of 2024, I continued using Juyaguana as my base, and even expanded the man-made islands to accommodate forests to every type of tree. Most recently, I have also been expanding the island into an archipelago throughout the claim's borders. And the Realm of Madness, named after a place with the same name in Ninjago, is my primary country based off of encouraging people to express P-nice. Power, nonsense, insanity, corruption, and evil. Madness is undergoing a skulk bloom with the hope to cover the whole land in skulk. There also exists a ghast spawner, which has not yet been automated, to set ghasts free in the skies of the realm. Madness has a tightly controlled overseas territory called Nguhmail, where theft and griefing are explicitly allowed. It has also scammed other countries into buying wilderness as part of the Big Shot Minecraft sale, which is still going on. The government of the Realm of Madness is very chaotic and flip-flops between anarchy and dictatorship, with 12 drastically different political parties, one of which, the Time Party, investigates alternative timelines and time anomalies of the world. Madness also uses negative currency called anti-slabs and a soup-based currency called the Maddening. Lavakessa. Founded within the last month or so by Nate, Lavakessa is a territory northwest of Tanyelezi. Its main city, Lavakessa, and also its administrative capital, with a government building and train station that is connected to Leshrail by the same name. The official language of Lavakessa is... there is none. However, the name comes from... the name comes from a Gikale word for I just made it up for the sake of funny nation. And also, I'm too lazy to actually develop words for my conlang. The main city can also be referred to as Nebraska, as buildings are large and spaced apart, with a growing farm economy, with also a relatively flattened terrain from hours of terraforming. This city also houses 4 large pride flags, the Otherkin, Trans, Gay, and NB, each in descending order and size. That one was also written in the first person, quote, Nate. This one's also in the first person. Aresia. Aresia, which is also its formal name, is a sovereign nation with a flag, defined territory, and a language, albeit without an actual constitution. I never wrote one. LMFAO. It was established on June 30th, 2024 by Orest, then named Orest I, and came to be a member of the United Nations the next day on July 1st. Orest has been inactive on the server for a couple months now, but he wants to start playing again someday. Do it. Aresia's name is derived from its leader's name, Orest. Interestingly enough, the final name was not decided by Orest himself, rather it was suggested by Queen Marcy I of Kaen. Other names that were suggested were Orest's Forest, Orestland, Orestan, Ukrayorestni, and Oresriel. Flag and banner. The banner is defined as an azure fading turquoise, Byzant, or, which basically translates to blue gradient cyan with a circle of yellow, and the flag was based off of the banner. Each civil department of Aresia also has its own flag, consisting of the national flag and a cutout of the department's borders in the middle of the circle. Aresia's flag has been often compared to the flag of Palau. Where'd you get that idea from? Aresia currently has 2 official languages, Itzoikt and English. Aresia has so far gone through 2 linguistic reforms and 1 orthographic reform. The first small change occurred on July 3rd, 3 days after the establishment of the country. The official language of Mayesilu was renamed to Muipsarira. The first linguistic reform occurred on July 31st, 2024, over a month after the establishment of the country. The reform placed, there's the pronunciation, Muipsarira, with Itzoiks as the official language, as Orest wished for there to be a more logical language, since Muipsarira was just a one-way cipher of English, or just about any language, and Itzoiks was a proper language with a grammar and dictionary that Orest had been developing. The second reform, which was an orthographic one, occurred much later on December 20th, 2024, which entailed the spelling reform of some digraphs in Itzoiks. From then on, no linguistic reforms have been held, but for the last 1 or 2 months, Orest has been thinking of replacing Itzoiks with Ukrainian, as it is a language that he speaks fluently in real life, and it would cut time spent translating things very greatly. However, that has not occurred yet. Political and general geography. Aresia is geographically located in the northwest of the world, and is consequently the northwesternmost nation, and consequently the closest nation to Guam 3, the northwesternmost point of the world. Unfortunately, due to its isolating geographical location, Aresia does not have any land borders with other nations, and the closest ones are relatively inactive. To the north, west, and south are relatively regular forests and water sources. To the north, there's a jungle. Further south from Aresia is the Nalinakal Sea. To the east, there is a desert mesa which is protected by the Ngaratuna United Nations Natural Reserve. Besides the Nalinakal Sea and some unnamed lakes, Aresia also has a network of rivers inside of it, encompassing all of its territory, called Sinya. Most of Aresia's territory consists of plains. However, further up north there are some hilly areas. At the west end of the country, there's a savanna composing all of the province of Hafres, and to the southeast is a large jungle composing all of the province of Dekes. Aresia consists of 9 civil departments, 2 cities, and 7 provincial departments. Todoyan, Elthis, Keslai, Aksiv, Hafris, Theona, Gunainale, Tsarsnoro, and Dekes. Some things to note about these divisions are that Todoyan and Elthis are both cities, with the former being artificially built and Elthis being a naturally generated village. Currently, only Tsasnoro and Keslai have their own administrative centers, with all the other departments being temporarily externally administered by either Elthis or Todoyan, depending on their geographic distance to the city. Aksif, Hafris, Guainali, Theonia, and Dekis currently do not have any urbanization, whilst other divisions have at least some sort of urban areas. All of Hafris and Dekis consist of savanna and jungle respectively. However, Theona and Dekis actually have parts of the Todoyan Phoenix Senrail connection rail that will be described more later. Of course, Todoyan is the most developed artificial city, with a presidential office, a ministry of foreign affairs, 2 embassies, a port, one of, if not the largest ports in the world, a Senrail station, a flagpole, and a ministry of official civil documents, which controls passports. Elthis only has a regional administration building, and all the other buildings are residences, as it is a naturally generated village. Kislai also has a regional administration building and a market that is partially stocked but has not actually gone into business yet. It was built sometime in January or February of 2024. History. Aresia was established by Orest, then Orest I, on June 30th, 2024, with a governmental office, now the presidential office, which was renovated a day later and Sodoyan, which is now Todoyan, was declared the capital of. On July 1st, the city was expanded with a small wheat farm and a ministry of foreign affairs. On the night of July 1st, 4 asteroids impacted Todoyan in an event that came to be known as the July 1st asteroids, which caused some of the landscape damage and small structural damage to the governmental office. In reality, it was just some creepers, but I being Orest, made up the story for comedic and maybe even dramatic effect, LOL. On this day, the renovation of the governmental office was completed, and that was when it became what it remains to look like today. On July 2nd, the currency and national motto were decided on. However, the currency was only named and was never actually used or put into circulation, so that caused it to be removed a couple months later. And from then, Aresia has not had an official currency. On this day, the renovation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was also completed, along with the new Senrail connection between Phoenix and Todoyan, which began to be built. On July 7th, the construction of the connection was paused, as Eternal stated not to build anything as he had to do something in that area. The project then resumed on the 16th. On July 13th, English was declared a co-official language. On July 31st, the construction of the Senrail connection was completed and celebrated with an opening ceremony which several people attended. The Todoyan Phoenix connection is one of the longest and most impressive sections of the Senrail network, especially because it was built completely by Orest alone with just material support from some other players on the server. It is also the connection with one of the widest tunnel sections, with it being 5x5 blocks instead of the standard 3x2. The project took Orest about half a month, disregarding a large break in the middle, which lasted a month. On August 4th, Aresia established its first diplomatic relations with the Republic of Tazanin, and subsequently an embassy was opened. On the 12th, Aresia also established more diplomatic relations in the north of Amoy, and another embassy was built. However, after North Amoy was dissolved in October, the embassy was leased to the Empire of Coldba Cuba, which then established diplomatic relations with Aresia. On August 9th, Orest attempted to unsuccessfully claim Guam II as the 17th United Nations meeting, despite it being located within a protected zone. The proposal was obviously faced with large disagreement, and Orest backed down, accepting the popular opinion. On August 16th, a territorial expansion was held, which formally incorporated the civil departments of Theona, Dekes, Guainanale, and Sasnoro into Aresia. Subsequently, all the existing departments were renamed from their old and Miuprasisra names, and all of their borders were slightly redrawn, resulting in the territorial expansion of both Todoyan and Elthis. On October 8th, Aresia faced its first major political conflict. However, it was caused by Orest himself. On that day, the nations of Igetha, North and South Amoy, were dissolved, and Aresia de jure occupied all of the land of Nguhcraft, a peninsula under the former South Amoy, despite it being incredibly far away from Aresia itself. However, this claim was condemned by several people, and Peaches of East Pua filed an order prohibiting Orest's claim, but the order was first unrecognized by Aresia. Orest never ended up even arriving at the peninsula, and was just temporarily remotely occupying it, since Orest recognized the order at 1:43 p.m. GMT and ended the territorial dispute between Aresia and East Pua, which lasted from 1:06 p.m. to 1:43 p.m. Again, like I know the background of a lot of this info, but I am reading a lot of these texts for the first time. At the beginning of November, Orest hosted the Eurovision Song Contest 2024. At first, the host was meant to be CMC, but for reasons they didn't end up hosting it, and Orest volunteered to host, so he was chosen. This is considered as one of his biggest accomplishments on the server, as the entire contest was really fun, albeit with a sizable amount of technical difficulties. I'm gonna have no voice after this. Pua! And maybe a little peeky in there too. One day, the Great Thasusan War will come out of some damned foolish thing in Pua. Quote Peaches. The Florocratic Republic of Pua formed in the ashes of a bloody civil war. The socialist state, then known colloquially as East Pua, began humbly on the evening of July 12, 2024, along with its neighbor and enemy, West Pua. The two Puas were locked in a Cold War-esque feud known as the Chilled War. The cause of the ideological split was the chosen flower of worship. East Pua chose the cornflower, and West Pua the allium. After several months of feuding, the Chilled War ended with the repunification of the two Puan states into one Pua. Repunification has been deemed by many to be simply an annexation of West Pua by the socialist East. Of these pictures, one is an aerial view of Ngurlin, the former capital of the Balsamic Empire of Pua, following the fall of the Ngurlin Wall, same as above, different angle. The Church of the Allium under construction, Allium, the city, dam, known under unified Puan rule as the Victory Dam, holding back the waters of Lake Shelton, above the primarily subterranean city of Allium, formerly the capital of West Pua, the Thirst Punapire fleet in the waters of Punanui, the bridge leading to the Puan General Secretary Peach's personal residence of Huare Rangatira. Following is an out-of-universe explanation of Pua. The idea behind Pua and Pihi started initially from three friends saying, what if we formed our nations as an East and West Germany thing and had our own Cold War? Wouldn't that be funny? And the idea developed into Pua, as we wanted to find a language that was foreign enough for our mostly monolinguistic ears to name things after, so we looked up the Maori word for flower, and thus Pua was born. The whole flower thing started from a years-long practice of Peaches collecting every cornflower he comes across in every Minecraft world or server he's ever been in. Skrunk picked the allium because purple. We mostly just wanted to build countries neighboring our buddy old pal Agma Swan, but ended up finding some pretty cool areas to build in and develop random lore around. Eventually, Skrunk got burnt out and felt his country was too large to be manageable, so he gave ownership of it to Peaches, who really likes having a ridiculously massive country for no real reason. Truer words have never been spoken. Calm down, son. Atovu, something like that. Officially known as the Authority of Atovu, or Atovu Uzvulde, is a land of chaos pioneer, considering itself to be the first proper state in the region. It was formally announced on 14th of May 2024 under the name Authority of Waimno, which subsequently changed later in its history after the only creator and ruler, Phil, reached the peak of his dissatisfaction with that conlang at the time. It has 3 cities, though 2 are underdeveloped, that is, including even the capital, Rikizmis. And the spread of Atovuan civilization began in a different location in the heart of Atovu, Visay. It is the only Atovu city with proper architecture, which is renowned for its beauty in comparison with other Nguhcraft cities. According to the lore, the population mainly consists of villagers which have lost their sentience, though did have one in the past, that being related to the mysterious events of Phil rising to power. Politically, Atovu has a despotic realm, with absolute power being wielded by Phil, even switching the compass poles once. The extents of this go as far as Phil even considering himself to be one with his state and refusing to wield any title except of his country's name. The history and historical development of Atovu are believed to be quite complex. However, since scientific cooperation is banned there, no scientist even has any data to work with. The fate of Atovu is ever-changing, as its despots' moods and opinions, and some big changes are expected in the near future. Also, conlangs aren't my strongest side, as it was changed once for being too underdeveloped and was replaced by Astu, which is an imaginary Baltic branch but is quite underdeveloped too at the moment. Wagon is considered paleo-chaotic. Quote Phil. Amoyology. Amoy once referred to a single country, and then a few countries, and those countries have since dissolved and been absorbed into other nations. Due to this, the former leaders of the Amoys have provided this lecture on the study of Amoyology.
Hello viewers, my name is Iris, and welcome to the portion of the video that I'll be calling the Amoyology lecture, section 0, a preamble. Before I begin my lecture, I would like to establish some terminology. First off, Amoy Endpoint any nation that was founded by me and my headmates at the Casual Mitosis Collective. 2. Pro-renamer, an Amoyologist who counts renamed CMC nations as separate entities. 3. Anti-renamer, the opposite of a pro-renamer, that is, an Amoyologist who counts renamed CMC nations as the same Amoy. The state of Amoy and North Amoy are both 1.0 and 1.1. Anti-renamers, Cerro Twanland and Umrod are all Amoys 4.0. 4.1 and 4.2 for... You get the gist. Amoy Endpoint M, an anti-renamer term referring to renamed CMC nations. With that out of the way, let us begin where it all began. Amoy. On the 2nd of April 2024, the CMC, that's us, founded the city state of Amoy. Amoyologists call Amoy 1.0. At the time, it was the smallest member of the Yuang, coming in at around 350 blocks in area. Amoy 1.0's size increased by way too much, and by the 17th of April, it had comprised what are now East Puas Drebja Metropolitan, Amuj, not Amoy, Amuj, those are two different entities. The Amoy 1.0's territory by April 17th had comprised what are now East Puas Drebja Metropolitan, Amuj Oblast, and Dorj Oblast. However, exactly 5 months later, on September 17th, 2024, the state of Amoy was split into two nations, North Amoy, or Amoy 2.0, note that I'm using pro-renamer terminology here, and South Amoy, or Amoy 3.0. South Amoy would go on to claim what is now called Držazach in the 3 weeks that it existed. On October 7th, 2024, another nation split off from North Amoy, that being Iwatha, spelled with a G, by the way, and with a thorn. Why? I don't know. A day later, however, the instability in the Amoys was too much for the CMC to handle, and so we decided to dissolve the territory of all three Amoyan nations. This led to what scholars refer to as the Amoy explosion, wherein various nations claimed territory from the fallen Amoys. That's not the end of the story, however, but the script is already getting too long and my voice is getting tired, so I won't spoil you with the details. Who knows, maybe Agma will let me do another Amoyology lecture later on, then I'll talk about the history of Amoy successor states. Anywho, this has been Iris from the Casual Mitosis Collective, signing out.
The Hole. Vivi calls this location simply The Hole, but doesn't know what other people may call it. I've never been there, so I don't know. I'm just gonna keep calling it The Hole. The Hole was began by Vivi shortly after the raid. The whole plan was to build an extremely large hole, and nowadays Vivi is relatively inactive on the server and hasn't really done much with the hole since then, but it is still claimed, Vivi still comes on occasionally, and there is a giant hole. Mijariki is a semi-constitutional monarchy. A constitution is pending, but will provide more for the rights of both player and NPC citizens. A unicameral legislature called the God damn it. And a judicial system. The land is administered as 5 Swizi in the west and 4 Marhar in the east. The Mijarikan economy is primarily agrarian, with crops, poultry, and wood being the primary goods produced. However, thanks to the presence of sites like Cheongnya, the Spawn, and the original Eternal Shrine, the sculpture, and Vesokil National Park, tourism is also a non-trivial sector. Language. The official language of Mijariki is Siskin, a Saxo-Siskinic language, thought to be closely related with the Saxish language spoken in Nguhcraft. There is a high degree of influence of the naval Georgian language that later gave rise to the Anshilubi language, indicating extensive contact. History. Pre-raid, there were 2 primary settlements visible from spawn, Hokalande and Nerven. Hokalande is thought to have been abandoned by the time Nerven was settled by the Siskinic speakers, leaving only its name, a road, and a copper building behind. Nerven continued to operate as a humble yet peaceful settlement until 3 mysterious raiders arrived, destroying it and any other site they could reach before Lord Eternal smote them. Due to its proximity to the spawn region, it is believed that Nerven was the first target of the raid. Not to be deterred by the loss, the Siskinic speakers resettled in the lands just to the northwest of spawn, namely Hokalande, Listark, and Gizvend. Eventually, Mijariki was proclaimed shortly after Kaen and Nguhcraft were established, becoming one of the founding members of the United Nations. Gradually, Mijariki expanded to the east and southeast of spawn, taking stewardship of the jungle, the ruins of Tishiongya, and the southern end of the archaic R2 railway line. Relations. Mijariki, being at the center of the world and run by eternalist principles of maturity and common sense, has neutral to positive rapport with every nation, but it joins Imeshel and Nguhcraft in a defensive pact called the Star Shield Alliance. It also has history of cooperation with nearby Kaen, Harlesia, Arktsev, and Kazdanen. Speaking of Kazdanen, Kazdanen is a republic with limited democratic elements, but not democratic overall, led by Pleb, the Doge of Kazdanen. The supreme legislative body is the Grand Boule. Labor collectives are represented by 2 members each. Upon a vacancy in the relevant collective, picks their top 3 candidates, and the Grand Boule chooses their preferred candidate to admit into their ranks. Again, very much not democratic. Membership for life. The chief executive body is the Presidium, aka the Hand of the Doge. The Doge is appointed through an internal election among the Grand Boule. The Doge appoints the other 4 Presidium members. Okay, the sole official language is Kozramva. It has vague Papuan inspiration, plus Ute consonant mutation shenanigans. Interesting. History. The first settlement was made on January 18th, 2024. On February 5th, 2024, the Republic of Kazdan was proclaimed. In May of 2024, that one time I acquired and made a guardian farm out of spite. Quote, total pleb. Relations. Good relations with other nations, not much to mention except a row of embassies in Kaz. And it is traditionally considered a founding member of the United Nations. It uses Keji architecture and its legacy on the server. The Gulf Arena is one of its most notable landmarks. Speaking of that, the Gulf Union. The Gulf Union was founded on the 4th of February 2025 by Kazdanen, Mapabal, Nostareche, Rialem, and Sofao Tashi. God, I'm botching all these pronunciations. And it was later joined by Enkavak, Epkem Munnan, Imershal, and Kaen. This is a supranational political and economic union. Totally not the you with the Kaz Kaima as a common currency. Currently working on a pan-Gulf highway network, the Gulf Highways and Streets Trust, or GAST network, with extensive rail connectivity already in place. We just kind of vibe, Lamau. Quote, pleb. Holy shit, I think that's the last one. The Queendom of Narongpar. Okay, sorry for this audio quality, but there's a giant storm happening, and I need to get this done. So, let's see. We got a submission from Salanti. Okay, yeah. The Kingdom of Narunpar was founded early in the Era of Nations back in January of 2024. It has 8 official languages, of which only 5 properly exist so far. It is ran by Slanty and can be partitioned into 3 thirds: the developed Narkevan Center, the Germanic-speaking Mdivilo region in the north, and the linguistically diverse, albeit underdeveloped, Balkans in the south. Slanty is additionally an officer of UNESCO and the creator of a few notable pieces of lesser media for the server's universe. The Narungpari economy is famous for its lack of money, so the nation relies on renewable or plentiful resources for every project. This concludes the Narungpar segment. Also, if I somehow missed your submission, anyone else who had a nation, if I somehow missed one, I'm really sorry. I was getting so many messages and emails and everything, and this is already really huge. Sorry if I forgot. Maybe I'll do a second one sometime soon. Yeah. I must clarify that this is just an overview of a few of the nations whose leaders provided info to put in the video. There's over 50 nations, and I think I just went through some basic summaries of about 20 of them, something like that. But there's way more. Go to the Nguhcraft wiki for more information about literally everything. Now, I may be biased, but it's a pretty awesome server, in my opinion. We have an entire global system going. Many nations have come and gone, or changed shape, or name, or language, or other fundamental features over time, but there's been a consistent player base for over a year now. Soon, if all goes according to plan, a new wave of live streams will begin. If you're interested in joining the server, there are 2 ways that you can get in, both of which require being a member of the Agma Schwa Discord server. The most common way to get in is to achieve the rank of Ngabra on the Discord server, which requires sending 1,000 valid messages. Now, this may seem like a high bar, but if you're talkative for like a few days, it can happen pretty quickly. And the other way is to be a matron or a YouTube member and to be on the Discord server. Now I know, it's like a classic pay to enter kind of scenario, but I think it's fair that if someone's willing to give me money, they may as well have access to one of the coolest things about the Discord server as a perk, right? Patrons and members probably account for like, 5 of the 50 plus nations max, but the option is always there for you if you become a matron or a YouTube member. And with that in mind, that's pretty much all I have for you. Special thanks to the matrons over at patreon.com/nga and the YouTube members who clicked the join button below. In addition to access to the Minecraft server, they get a secret chat on the Discord server, early access to my new comic pages and any other art for my upcoming videos, my totally consistent weekly updates, and once I get back from Spain, they'll get to provide memes for the green screen that will once again be in the background of my videos. I know, I miss it too. Can't complain about this background too much though. It's literally the ocean. I have lots of good stuff coming up, but with the end of my Basque Country experience nigh, my progress has been slowing down in exchange for maximizing my real life experiences out here. This is a cool place and I'm trying to make the best of it instead of spending all my time video editing. Hopefully that makes sense. Honestly, the whole past year and a half or more could be explained with my progress has been slowed. What with studying to become a certified arborist, proposing to Schwa, planning our wedding, getting married, planning our journey to the Basque Country, getting to the Basque Country, and now planning our return to Arizona. It's been a lot, okay? I've been living life touching grass, or in my case, trees, arborist. So this channel is nowhere near the only thing I do. I hope you all understand, but a lot of good stuff is coming. Just you wait. The things that are in production are pretty awesome, and some of them very, very cursed. You'll see. And with that, I'm gonna go not use my vocal cords for a day or so. Good luck me in the editing room. Have fun with this, and sorry not sorry to every pronunciation that I botched in this video. Go play Nguhcraft. Make your own videos on your countries if you want. I will share them. There you go. Alright, goodbye. Nga is out. The end. Ah!